guys, welcome to Cooking Fit. Sep here, and I'm going to show you how to make this really fun, it's actually a Persian dish. It's called sambooseh. It's a meat-filled pastry that we're going to deep fry, but I'm going to make it healthy, and I'll show you how. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our onion, which I've kept in the fridge, and this is just one of my tricks for preventing you from crying when you're cutting the onion. So you just want to keep it in the fridge for about 30 minutes or so. So I have my pan preheating at medium-high heat. I'm going to go ahead and add my olive oil. I'm just going to go twice around the pan. I'm not really going to measure it. You can if you want. Then I'm just going to go ahead and add my onion to the pan. It's not hot enough. Once you put the onion in, you should start to hear it sizzle, so maybe wait a little bit longer before you add the onion. So while that's coming up to temperature, I'm going to start with my garlic. I just have a whole clove right here. Just kind of break it apart. Get one nice big one. So this is pretty big. If it was smaller, I'd probably use 2 cloves. I'm just going to use 1. First thing you want to do is just put it on your cutting board, give it a good smash, and this really helps take the skin off. Oops. A lot easier. And it also makes your chopping faster. Wow, this was huge. Just take that off. It's going now, and I'm going to add the minced garlic. Remember, I just used 1 clove of garlic. If you have a smaller clove, you can use 2 if you like. I'm just going to cook this down. The garlic cooks a lot faster than the onion. It actually burns faster, so that's why I always put the onion in first, because it creates a little bed for the garlic to sit on top of, and it protects it from burning. So I'm just going to move this around a little bit. Once you start to smell the garlic, you can go ahead and add your meat. I'm using ground beef, and it's lean ground beef, so I'm just going to put the whole thing in here. It's about 1 pound. Break it up a little bit. And what I'm going to use to help me break this down even more is actually one of these. It's like a potato masher. You would use it to make mashed potatoes, but I'm just going to use it to break up the meat. The sambooseh, usually what they add to it is potatoes, but since potatoes are really starchy and they're not really that great for fat loss unless you eat them after a workout, I'm going to add zucchini, and you get a lot more nutrients in there as well. So the way I'm going to cut the zucchini is I just cut off the 2 ends. I'm just going to slice it down long ways and just make about 3 cuts right there. And just cut it into little cubes. And I'm going to be cooking the zucchini separate from the meat in a separate pot, so I have this heating right now under medium-high heat about. I have some that I've already chopped earlier. Just going to do the same thing with this side, just make 2 long strips and cut it into nice chunks. So I have about 3 zucchinis in here. You can add more or less, just depending on how many people you're feeding. I'm going to add some olive oil to the pot that I've been preheating. Go ahead and add the zucchini to it. And just cook that down. While that's going, so the meat is starting to brown already, I'm going to start seasoning the meat. So what I'm going to use to season it is some salt, a couple pinches, a little bit more, some black pepper. You can use the fresh cracked or regular, it's up to you. And what I'm also going to add is some turmeric. I'm just going to put about a palmful. And also some cumin. So once you start adding the spices to the meat, you'll start to smell it, and you get a nice smoky flavor and aroma going through the house. So get some cumin in there, about the same amount as the turmeric. And I'm also going to add some cayenne pepper. So the samboosehs are very similar to an Indian dish that they're called samosas. And actually meat-filled pastries are really popular in a lot of cultures. We have egg rolls, samosas, and Persians we have sambooseh. So you can add as much or as little cayenne pepper as you like. It just depends on how spicy you like it. So once you add the spices, just go ahead and get them incorporated with the meat. I'm going to check on my zucchini, move it around a little bit. So I'm just going to wait for the zucchini to brown, and it might take a little while because they release a lot of water, but once that water evaporates, it'll start to become nice and brown. And, okay, so this looks pretty good. The meat looks good right now. And I'm going to add some tomato paste. So I really like the tomato paste in the tube because you can just use as much as you want, and once you're done, you can put it back in the fridge. You don't have to worry about it going bad. So the meat is almost ready to go. I'm also going to add some parsley. And when you go to the store, you'll probably find two kinds of parsley, either the curly parsley, and sometimes it's just called plain parsley, or the Italian parsley, which is the more flat-looking parsley. So we're just going to use the regular curly parsley. I'm going to use about half of what I have right here. And I'm just going to give it a rough chop, so I'm going to keep the tip of the knife on the cutting board, and then just move it up and down like that. And you want to add the parsley close to the end of the cooking process because otherwise it starts to lose a lot of its color and it'll just kind of turn brown. And this way you preserve a lot of that fresh flavor as well. Just all the way down. And one thing that we're doing different today than most sambooseh recipes is that a lot of times they wrap the meat in a dough, like made with yeast and everything, but that takes a long time. So I'm going to take a little shortcut today. I'm just going to add the parsley here to the meat, just like that. I'm going to take a little shortcut, and I'm using store-bought whole wheat lavosh bread, which I just found at Trader Joe's. You could probably find it at most supermarkets nowadays, or at an international market if it's close to you. And I guess if you can't find either, you could probably use a whole wheat tortilla. So I'm just going to mix this around, just like that. And I've turned the heat off under the meat because I want it to kind of cool down a little bit so I can handle it when it comes to wrapping the sambooseh. So I have a couple that I've already made, and I'm going to use that same the egg dip that we made. It was just about half a cup of milk and a couple egg yolks. So I'm going to take my half of the lavosh bread and just kind of run it through. Make it nice and moist, and this way when you wrap the bread around the meat, it has something to hold on to. It makes the bread more pliable, and it also sticks to itself. So I'm just going to grab a big tablespoon, grab a piece of the meat and the zucchini, and got the nice parsley in there. You don't want to overstuff it because then it won't stay closed for you. And you want to make sure that it's pretty secure so that when you fry it, all the stuffing won't come out into the pan. So just like that, and so watch the way I'm going to fold this over. First I'm going to actually take most of this meat over here. I'm going to pull this over, make a triangle. This is like food origami. And then just fold it up like that. Fold it over like this into another triangle, and as you can see, you still have a little opening right there. So you're just going to take this flap over here and bring it around. So I'm just going to place this on my cooking sheet and just make sure that you have the flap down. And as you're making the other samboosehs, this will kind of stick together, and that way it makes it a lot easier for you to fry. Have our